Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Living with Hep B. I'm your host, Richard So, Executive Director of Hep B Free. We're actually changing our name from SF Hep B Free Bay Area to Hep B Free to do more national work and even maybe some global work, which we'll get into with our guest today. Thank you for joining us today. I have an awesome ally and friend, Dr. Thomas Tu, who has a very unique kind of story and what he does for advocacy here around hepatitis B. And so, Thomas, if you could introduce yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation to talk, Richard. Really appreciate it. So my name's Associate Professor Thomas Tu. I'm a molecular biologist by trade. So I spend my days overseeing molecular research into hepatitis B, looking at, how the virus persists in the liver, and if we understand that, we can develop cures for it. And we're also interested in looking at how the virus causes cancer. And so, again, if we understand the underlying mechanisms of that, we can prevent cancer, which would be great. I also live with hepatitis B. I found out when I was about 15. And so or a couple of the things that I'm doing now is leading a couple of NGOs. One is hepbcommunity.org, which is an online forum for people living with hepatitis B to sort of come together, find that they're not alone, and see how other people have navigated their condition and the circumstances there. I also am a co-founder of Hep B Voices Australia, which is the first uh, community-led organization in Australia, completely led by people living with hepatitis B, and advocating for changes in the system and making sure that the lived experience is central to our public health response
Mm.
to hepatitis B. So, couple of hats that I wear there. Happy to chat today about any of them and all of them.
Yeah, so that's the Happy Voices part is really, really excellent. I think that's one of the biggest issues. People, there's still stigma and people feel alone and having a group that's run by those directly affected by the disease not only gives a people a home sense, but also can be much more impactful for legislative reasons or systematic reasons in the healthcare industry. Because one thing for research, just I guess regular researchers or public health folks to be like, we should do this, and another thing to really put a human face on it. So that sounds great.
Yeah,
And I think it's
exactly.
one of
It really helps to have someone who has real skin in the game to show that the disease is not something that's out there. It's in the room,
Mhm,
speaking directly in front of them,
mhm.
asking for, please to be seen.
Yeah,
That's the major thing.
yeah. And so you said you found out when you were 15 that you were infected. May I ask how it affected you and your family at that time?
Yeah, that sort of interesting. Well, a sort of formative moment for me. So, um, my family was tested because I come from a sort of priority population that is, populations within Australia who are more likely to have hepatitis B. My parents came from Vietnam, and their parents came from China. And so both Vietnam and China have high prevalence rates of hepatitis B. And so since my parents were born there, and I was actually born in Australia. Um, we just got tested as a sort of family, and I found out that I had hepatitis B, and at that time I didn't really uh, understand anything about the virus. I just knew that I had this thing for the rest of my life, and it was associated with something dirty.
Mm,
And that was very emotionally impactful, you know, despite my ignorance of what it actually meant, maybe because of that ignorance of what it actually meant. And so um, afterwards, when I recovered after that, that sort of quite emotional, impactful sort of experience, I just pushed it aside.
mm,
It wasn't. I didn't feel any physical symptoms, and I was raised in a migrant household, which sort of means you are encouraged to just put your head down and work and not make waves, just integrate. And this is a sort of condition that set me apart from other people,
mm,
how it felt. I felt that I was completely alone in this, that I hadn't heard about hepatitis B in the community. So it must mean that no other people have it.
right.
So I learned later on, 300 million people around the world
Yeah.
have a chronic infection. A third of the world's population has been exposed. So it's a hugely, you know, common and prevalent condition, but just no one talks about it. So I sort of pushed it out of my mind and just lived my life. And it wasn't till sort of university where I found out that my university had one of the only active hepatitis research labs, active labs in Australia. And I thought, well, I could probably make something out of that. And from then on, sort of focused on getting into that lab for my honors year,
Mm.
and eventually doing a PhD there. And sort of the rest is history. So ever since the start of my career, I've worked in hepatitis B
Wow.
research. So
Yeah.
it really had an impact on me, but it
Yeah.
it was quite a long latent period to get to that point.
And when you first found out, so are your parents infected or do you have siblings who are infected? But then were they much like, don't worry, like it's like we haven't heard anything, just hush hush about it.
Yeah. So my mother is has hepatitis B. My father is negative, and my brother, who was born 3 years after me, is negative, and that's
Hmm.
because in the intervening years between my birth and my brother's birth, universal vaccination had come
Uh,
into play.
right in that
Um,
window, huh?
yeah, right in that window. So I essentially, as a 39-year-old, represent the tail end of people with who were born with hepatitis B with mother to child transmission in Australia. Really.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you listening, we always say in the United States in about the early 1990s, there began the automatic screening of pregnant mothers for hepatitis B, along with many other diseases. And then if they found that the mother was infected, they were started on treatment, especially if their viral load or the danger of the disease was high. And then the infant was given this immediate birth dose. And so you had a sudden drop in infection to infants that became standard. And then in America, by the mid 1990s to late 1990s, it became a regular infant vaccination. And so when I still talk to people out in the community, I'm like, are you older than like 32? And then if they're younger than that, I'm like, there's probably really low chance unless you were born outside. And will turn 38 this year. And so I too was not part of the time when my mother would have been automatically tested. There was in 1987 for it, and so I needed to be tested for it, and then got vaccinated. What I remember is in like elementary or high school. Um, and so, as Thomas has just said, like that little window is often where folks, or I guess the youngest ones of us who are not in their 50s and 60s, would have been infected. Um, yeah, and so I imagine it's probably about the same time for in Australia. Yeah. Did you
Yes.
feel did you feel like did you have, well, were you managing it with a physician when you first found out, or did that come way later, or?
That came later, and it's when I sort of un understood and found out a lot more about hepatitis B during my research.
Hmm.
So, for every sort of academic paper, the first introduction paragraph is essentially setting the scene and saying how important this research is. And so when you read a lot of uh, hepatitis B related research, the first um, paragraph is always quite harrowing for people living with Hep B, saying this many people are infected, these many people die of liver cancer and liver failure, and you know after a time that's like maybe I should do something about this. But I mean, it's not really a scalable option to make every person with hepatitis B, you know, do a PhD in molecular
Right,
biology.
right.
So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend that as a appropriate strategy for marketing and making
Hmm.
sure awareness and promotion of hepatitis B. So it was really, I could very easily, oops, sorry, could very easily have um, slipped through the cracks, as many
Yeah.
people do. We
Hmm.
know that only 10% of people across the entire world even know they have hepatitis B, and even fewer are monitored, and
Yeah.
only about 2% of people are on treatment. So we have a huge way to go in terms of yeah, what needs to be done. Um,
Yeah. It's so good to have a kind of global perspective from you. The World Health Organization has a elimination goal by 2030, which sadly definitely doesn't seem like it's going to happen. It was great that they came together to set some goals, and there have been some progress, especially on the infant vaccination side for many countries. But for all those who have it currently, as Thomas just said, there's a dismal amount who know about their infection, and even within those who know about their infection, a dismal amount who are accessing treatment, and whether they have even actual access to it, or because of stigma, because of issues because of socioeconomic status, things like that. And so the US as well has a hepatitis elimination program that's tracked to the World Health Organization, but we are also likely not going to hit any of the major metrics on that front too. So it really goes to show you that this is a disease, again, that has, you know, 300 million people who have this, as opposed to something like HIV, which everybody knows about. And I think that's like 38 million, yet we do so much in many countries to fight HIV. And that's great, but this is a disease that we have all the solutions for already. If we can just get people tested, just get people vaccinated. So can you tell
yeah.
me a little bit how HepBCommunity came to be?
Yeah, so I took my experience from being diagnosed and just potentially being, as they say in the sector, lost to follow up. That is to say, you're diagnosed but don't do anything about it. And I thought, well, that could have so easily been me. What can I do to not only improve those numbers, but also make sure that people are supported through the process? Because that's the main thing that people experience with hepatitis B. It isn't
Mhm.
necessarily the liver cancer or liver failure. Hep B is a very silent disease for a lot of its time. So, you may be infected as a child and you don't feel any symptoms until your liver's failing or you've got a cancer. Um, the biggest impact of it, day-to-day life, it is this shame, is this stigma, is this
Mhm.
feeling of loneliness, loss, feeling like you can't ever be open with anyone. And so when I looked, there were no resources. When I looked as a teenager, there was no resources. And when I sort of um, got back into hepatitis B and sort of engaged with my condition, there still wasn't anything, decades later. So I thought, well, why don't I do something about it? And so I started this forum, hepbcommunity.org, so that people could sort of just chat and share their experiences. And because of my links with the scientific community, with the clinical community, I had a ready source of experts that I knew who could answer the questions that people had about their condition as well. And so this is a big thing. Okay, so when I said there's not necessarily nothing. I did find, you know, Facebook groups and all of this sort of thing. But when I delved deep into them, they were just completely filled with these ads for supplements,
Yeah.
um, and they weren't based in fact. Um, there is no cure for hepatitis B here, but every second post was like, just take this supplement for a month, for $500. And that was really frustrating as a scientist as
Right.
well as, as a patient who had been promised these cures. Oh, next 5 years, next 5 years.
Yeah. It's always
From
in the
the
next 5 years.
Exactly. And so I wanted to make sure that this conversation happened um, between the professional sector as well as the affected community um, as well. So it sort of ticked all the boxes in terms of addressing a lot of the issues and where the systems we have in place are weak. And that is a direct conversation with the people affected by the condition, as well as the general community. And we've
Mhm.
seen now in the US, sorry to say, from this side of the world, what misinformation about health can do, and it's really detrimental to society. And so this is my little way in contributing to the solution to that, to bend the conversation towards something that is a bit less inflammatory, just is about real information and people talking to one another and finding support in one another, which
Yeah.
uh, is becoming less and less common in just the world and
Yeah.
the internet in particular. So, yeah, what I found with the conversations, it's a global sort of forum. We've got people from all over the world. We've got about 2,500 uh, users. And what's surprising is no matter where you are in the world, same things keep coming up.
Yeah.
People experience it in the same way no matter where they are, this stigma, this discrimination, this feeling of loneliness, the impacts it has on people's relationships with, potential partners, with their families, with their kids. Um, And just knowing that there's other people out there experiencing this has been really eye-opening and supportive to a lot of our users. So that to me it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, you hit it on the dot. I've had the privilege of surfing the forum, and for anybody listening, like, one of the things that people for any disease, but particularly Hep B, it's like, what do I do now? I think you have some great doctors who are like, it's okay, like this isn't a death sentence, like, and answers some questions, but usually it's a doctor who says like, you need to come visit this many times, do this, and then not drink and do this, and then that's it. There's none of this extra compassion of like, do you have any questions for me about your normal life? And one of the most awesome things about your forum is people are talking about that from very nuanced things like, what do I tell my significant other? What do I tell? Am I supposed to just at the first date be telling them this? Is it ethical to like wait until something gets further? And then other people comment. And what's nice, of course, is Thomas's forum is moderated. And so it's, people are saying the correct things, but you've seen this really nice interaction. I remember I saw a chain of someone, I think in Africa, who says, I am in love with this partner, and I think it's time that I tell them, but I'm so afraid. And there was some advice from some physicians as well as some advice from other normal people. And then almost critically, there were some that said, well, you should be responsible and tell them. But if they turn away from you, it's not your fault. That's their loss. Like, they're misinformed. You shouldn't take it to heart. And that's something that no doctor is or rarely would take the time to do. And I think if I was that way, I'd be like, oh my God, like that's exactly what I'm afraid of. And this is another person who's gone through it exactly like me. And I think if I read it correctly, unfortunately, the partner, after being told, they broke off the relationship, and then there's like 7 posts of like, don't worry, like they'll better, more understanding, loving people. If they don't love you for this disease that you can clearly get vaccinated and cared for, then that's their loss and they're misinformed. And that just community, the ability to press the little heart button, like that's something that I think is few and far between. And from our perspective, we used to ask healthcare systems, do you have support groups? And they would sometimes say, hey, we used to try to offer it, but nobody was going to come in from their home to come in person. And then people were afraid that if they came in physically, their friends would notice or their partner would notice, and they didn't want to be outed. And that reminded me of way back when the HIV epidemic first started. People didn't want to be seen walking into clinics because people would assume, even if they're just getting tested, that they're getting tested because they either had HIV or they had promiscuous behavior. And so by having an online forum, I think gives people the ease of some of that privacy, but also being able to tell their personal story. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Just as a central principle, we have tried to lower the um, sort of barriers to engagement as much as
Mhm.
possible. People can come and just without logging in, see all the stories that are being told, and if they choose to engage, oh, we just need an email to register, and that's it. You don't have to give your real name. You can choose when and where and how to sort of post or engage with the community. It's up to you, and that will change over time as you see what's happening there and feel more comfortable.
Mhm.
Um, and it's there 24/7 essentially. So you don't have to wait for another 6 months to see your doctor to raise up these issues that are affecting you now. There is always that community there to sort of tap into and sort of understand what you're going through because chances are they've been through the same thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we can wrap some of this up. I know you've got other things to do, but like I think thank you so much, Thomas. Your perspective is particularly unique. Thomas will be the first kind of global. We had one more global person, but no one who definitely helped found and create this amazing opportunity. For everyone listening, I really want to let you know to check it out. As Thomas said, you don't have to create an account, but if you do want to post and engage, you do need to create an account, and that of course helps it so there's not a bunch of people selling fake herbal remedies. I want to be both me and Thomas want to be really clear. There is no hepatitis B cure, and online you'll see a lot of folks saying, "Oh, I did this treatment or this herbal supplement." Please be hyper aware of the legitimacy of the information you get around hepatitis B. Look for it from CDC, WHO, and mainstream health resources. You can visit their website at hepbcommunity.org. And you can see all the different types of posts, everything from just talking about things to better understanding your diagnosis. Of course, none of it should replace seeing your own doctor and official medical, formal medical advice. Anything else you want to add, Thomas?
No, I think you've done great promo for me. I should be giving you some money for that. No, fantastic talking to you. I really appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
for yeah, just spreading the word about our support group, and that's really what we want to do is help the community in our way. Yeah.
So thank you again for your time. That wraps up this episode of Living with Hep B. You can always visit us at sfhepbfree.org. If you need to call, especially if you're in the United States, you can call us at 415-336-2629. I'm just going to double check that here. Oh, sorry, 415-366-2629. And we write on our community page because we want to offer a way to get to find community will be this series, but also right at the top is Thomas's webpage. So please check it out. It is a great way to connect with others around the world. And if, of course, you want to donate or get more involved, you can reach out to us. If you are global or in Australia, you can reach out to Thomas too as well. And maybe there will be some opportunities. And our organizations hope to grow and support each other as we do more work. So thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everyone.